Alright, we're going to start this first video on the order of operations. Today you are going to be going through 3 videos. Not that it's a long portion, but originally I had them all separated into 3 sections. You're going to be talking about the general idea of order of operations, as well as talking about the 2 lower levels of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. If you're beginning of order of operations now, which you are, you've seen some sort of method to help you remember the rule of parentheses first, exponents next, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, which again we see as PEMDAS. Some of you have seen it as please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, but I'm not going to just assume that you've seen any specific form of that. If you're watching this video, it's quite possible you're still not understanding exactly what it means or why you need to know it. First, you need to understand that the order of operations is important because there should only be one numeric answer for any expression. So if we look at this example here again, pause and replay the video if you don't understand certain things, or raise your hand and ask me, but for the most part just follow along, and there's really not much to write. But just looking at this, if I was to do 5 plus 3 first, I would turn that into 8 times 2, which 8 times 2 is 16. If I chose instead to go to 3 times 2 first, then I would rewrite my 5 plus 3 times 2 turns to 6, and then 5 plus 6 is 11. Notice we have 2 different answers, which is a problem. Even looking at an example like this, where if you decide to do 20 divided by 2 first, which is 10 times 5, that turns into 50. Or I could choose to do 2 times 5 first, which turns that into 20 divided by 10, giving me an answer of 2. Again, notice that we have two separate answers, which again is an issue because you can't have 2 different answers. And so what order of operations does is it plays the judge who determines which of the answers is actually correct. So yes, we had 2 answers in both of those examples, but only one of them can be correct, and order of operations is the one that determines which one is correct. We can't have 2 options in math, otherwise things get very interesting. One of the biggest reasons for making mistakes in the order of operations, PEMDAS, is that the structure is partially confusing. For example, it's written in a way to make you think that the way you were probably taught is that multiplication is higher than division, but that's actually true. They are untrue. They are both equal. These 2 are equal operations. It's also written to make you think that addition goes before subtraction, but again, those 2 are also equal. And so we need to make sure we understand, even though it's written as higher to lower, that these 2 groups actually are packaged into one. So again, that's the main thing we're going to be doing, is trying to get used to that part. So we then have to learn what to do whenever we have 2 operations that are equal to each other. The rules state that the equivalent operations are worked out from left to right. I don't know if you heard that before. I know when I did when I was in school, but it didn't make sense because I didn't even understand how to use the order of operations. So pretty much what I'm trying to do here is give you a good way to approach the order of operations so that it actually makes sense, and so that the questions are easy to answer. Whenever I look at order of operations, I look at it like people in the school lunch line. I view addition and subtraction are like the lowest terms in power, so I see them as male and female students. In your lunch line, boys don't get to jump in front of girls. Girls do not get to jump in front of boys. It doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl. As a student, whoever is in line first gets fed first, because boys and girls as students are equal in this school. They have equal power. Again, that is how I view addition, subtraction. In terms of multiplication and division, I view them as male and female teachers. If you've ever noticed, whenever you're standing in line, teachers, because we have things to get done, we are actually allowed to jump to the front of the line in front of students, but there's nothing that says that a male teacher gets to jump in front of a female teacher, or vice versa. So therefore what that means is that, again, teachers, male teacher, female teacher, still depends on which teacher shows up in line first. So with that in mind, it actually gets easier to do some problems. So again, what I would do, and this is what you need to learn to do, is look for quote-unquote teachers. Remember, teachers represent multiplication and division problems in that system. And then you feed the students in the order they are lined up. So looking at this like a lunch line, these are all people who need to be fed. That is a student, teacher, student, teacher, teacher. Again, because multiplication and division are like teachers, that's how I view them. So let's go through this and just show you a real quick overview of where you're going to go today. Here you have what you want to do first, again, is just look for the first teacher in line because they have the power, and here is your first teacher. I suggest that you underline it, that way you know where you are, and just rewrite everybody else and tell them to wait in line. 3 divided by 3 turns into 1, plus 2 has to wait, times 5 has to wait, and divided by 5 has to wait. Looking at this, I then again want to scan and say, where is the first teacher in line? There it is, 2 times 5, so 15 has to wait, minus 2 has to wait, plus 1, plus this turns into 10, divided by 5. Looking again for another teacher, nope, student, 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 there's another teacher. So again, everybody else has to wait in line, and then this teacher, the sign, gets fed. Now that all of the teachers are fed, all you're going to do is work it out from left to right. That's the first student in line, so 15 minus 2 is 13. This is the first student in line, so 13 minus plus 1 turns into 14. And then here is the only student in line, which gives you the answer of 16. Alright, so with all that, just make sure you understand again that that is the process that you are looking for. Alright, the videos or lessons that follow pretty much are going to expand on the other parts as well as look closer at the individual levels. Just make sure you pay attention to them all because each one builds on the other level prior. So unless you understand how to do addition and subtraction only, it's going to be very difficult today for you to do multiplication, division, and all those other things matched up. So if after you finish this portion of it, which is just addition and subtraction, and you still don't understand it, make sure you raise your hand, bring your computer over to me, and we can talk about trying to get you in the right place. As simple as problems with only addition and subtraction may seem, they can be some of the trickiest ones to do. Keep in mind that the AS, again, makes you think that A is stronger than S, but that is not correct. Addition and subtraction have the same level of power and should be worked out from left to right, or again, in terms of who is in line first. So again, the translation of left to right just means whichever operation is in line first gets worked out first, or in the lunch line first gets fed first. Do not skip over an addition sign to work out a subtraction sign. Also, do not skip over a subtraction sign to work out an addition sign. So looking at this problem, if we follow the rules of this problem, these are both students and they're equivalent. So you're not supposed to jump over this to get to that. So we first off say this is in line first. 4 minus 1 is 3, plus 2, 2 plus 2, or 3 plus 2 turns into 5. But what happens if you ignore that rule or all these things that I just told you and you decide, you know what, I don't feel like doing subtraction, I'm going to do the addition problem first and I'll still get it right? Let's see. You end up with 4 minus 1 plus 2 is 3 and 4 minus 3 is 1. Notice this answer is different because this one follows the order of operations, that one is right, this one is wrong. Bottom line, don't jump over an addition sign for subtraction, do not jump over a subtraction sign for addition, work them out in the order which they show up. And I do understand most of my students' willingness to gamble. They just pretty much think, well, it's worked sometimes, so I'll just go ahead and do it the way I want. And yes, there are some times like this one where 4 plus 6 is 10, minus 1, you end up with 9. Where over here you get 4 plus 5, which you still end up with 9. Yes, there are some that work out like this, but keep in mind, the people who make up the questions, in this case it's me, I'm not going to give you a problem that has two options because there's no need to waste your time on those questions. Again, the easiest way to view addition and subtraction is as male, female students in the lunch line. Whoever's in line first gets fed first. So again, look at the following example and just make sure you're catching on to what's going on. I'm looking for teachers. There are no teachers in this line, so you feed the first student and you rewrite everybody else. You must rewrite everybody else in order to do this. Again, no teachers, feed the first student. 6 minus 1 plus 6 minus 2. No teachers, feed the first student. 5 plus 6 minus 2. Feed the first student. 11 minus 2. You end up with 9. The way you can check your answer, which is why you shouldn't miss it, is to just type it into your calculator because your calculator follows the order of operations. And you see that the answer here matches your answer over there, which means that we got it right. Now again, if you use your calculator and just write this 9, you're going to miss a lot of points because every single line of work that I expect, which I'll tell you how many lines there are, is a point. So if you went straight from here to here, you would miss 1, 2, 3, 4 points off of that question. So again, just be careful in trying to take a shortcut and get it done quickly. The overall idea, just scan the problem to see if there's anything outside of a plus or minus sign. If not, just like we did, feed the first student and go from there. So again, this is the end of the first portion of the video, which is just addition and subtraction. If you're having any issues with just addition and subtraction, please raise your hand or bring your computer over to one of the teachers and ask for help, because that's what we're here to do. Once we understand how to work with problems containing only addition and subtraction signs, it's easy to adjust to problems that mix in some multiplication and division. Again, if you don't understand completely how things can go wrong when working out problems with only addition and subtraction, make sure you rewind the video, go back, and again ask a teacher for help before you move on. Multiplication and division, though, are stronger than addition and subtraction, and because of this, that is why we skip over those two signs to work out any multiplication or division signs. Afterwards, you go through what you just did in the addition subtraction work. If we encounter a problem with just multiplication and division, remember that they are equal power. They are male and female teachers. So whoever's in line first gets worked out first. So in this one example that I have here, you have 15 divided by 3 times 5. Again, following the order of operations, these are both equivalent. So whoever's in line first, that teacher is in line first. So we do 15 divided by 3, which is 5 times 5, or 25. But again, what happens with those students who just say, you know what, I'm not going to do it your way, I'm going to do it my way and still get it right? Again, you do not skip over this for that. If you were to jump over here, 3 times 5 is 15. Notice 15 divided by 15 is 1. You will get a wrong answer. Again, do not jump over division for multiplication, and do not jump over multiplication for division. Notice that the answers change depending on whether we follow the order of operations, and again, that is why we have to remember the rules. As stated earlier, I find it easier to view multiplication and division signs as teachers in the lunch line. Although teachers can jump in front of students, which represent plus and minus, they are not allowed to jump in front of each other. So whichever teacher is in line first gets fed first. After the teachers are fed, again, students are fed in the order in which they appear. Just a couple more problems and you are done with this notes and you can go to your practice. But again, work on this strategy that I'm doing right here. And it's a very simple strategy. All you have to do is look and ask yourself, are there any teachers, or who's the first teacher in line? So I scan, I see it, that's not a teacher, but that is a teacher. I underline it. That's what I do first. I rewrite everything else. 3 plus 4 times 5 is 20, minus 10, plus 1, minus 10, divided by 2, plus 3. Again, everything else must be carefully rewritten. Look again, are there any teachers in line? No, 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 no. Yes, 10 divided by 2 is a teacher, so that's what we're going to work out. 3 plus 20 minus 10 plus 1 minus 10 divided by 2 turns into 5 plus 3. Again, scan for teachers. No multiplication or division sign. Nope, 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 nope. So now there's only what we call students in line, which means we feed them in order. First student becomes 23 minus 10 plus 1 minus 5 plus 3. First student in line becomes 13 plus 1 minus 5 plus 3. First student in line, 14 minus 5 plus 3. First student in line becomes 9 plus 3, which gives us the answer of 12. Feel free to use your calculator at any point. For example, if you didn't know what 23 minus 10 is, just go ahead and type in 23 minus 10 to see if that turns into 13. Bottom line on this, again, is after you do your work, go back and check it using your calculator. 3 plus 4 times 5 minus 10 plus 1 minus 10 divided by 2 plus 3 to see if the answer you get here matches the answer you get there. And chances are, if you missed it, it's just because you made a very, very small mistake of your addition or subtraction typically. Last question before we wrap this up. 5 plus 8 divided by 4 and all that. Again, look for teachers. That's not multiplication or division. This one is. Go with the first one you see. So this turns into 5 plus, that turns into 2 times 2 minus 5 plus 6 divided by 6 plus 1 times 3. Once you've rewritten it, again, look for your teachers. Here's one, that's your multiplication or division. 5 plus 4 minus 5 plus 6 divided by 6 plus 1 times 3. Again, look for your multiplication or division first. There's one there. 5 plus 4 minus 5 plus, that turns into 1, plus 1 times 3. Looking again for any multiplication or division signs. There's 1. 5 plus 4 minus 5 plus 1 plus, and then 1 times 3 turns into 3. Now that we don't see any multiplication or division, we go with the first student. So 5 plus 4 is 9 minus 5 plus 1 plus 3. Here, first student, 4 plus 1 plus 3. Here's our first student, 5 plus 3, which gives us the answer of 8. Alright. Overall, the toughest part of working out longer problems is, and I'm sure you're thinking the same thing as you're watching me do this, is taking your time and rewriting the parts that you have not used. I know a lot of you don't like math in the first place, so you're going to want to rush, or you just don't want to be here, so you don't feel like doing any work. But if you rush and you try to work out 2 or more operations at a time, it's going to cause a major mistake. Not only that, if you see these questions on your quiz and you jump from here down to here, this one will cost you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. And you don't want to lose 7 points on a quiz just because you feel like typing into your calculator and getting the answer. So when you do your work today, make sure you follow the rules of how many lines there should be whenever you work this stuff out. After dealing with problems that contain all those, the order of operations is pretty easy. Honestly, the videos that you just watched, or the lesson that you just watched, is the toughest part of the order of operations. After that, it gets decently easy. The majority of the errors you're going to make have been addressed already. So again, come up, get the video or get the worksheet from me, and then make sure you work on that. Again, I encourage you to work in groups and make sure that you go from there, and again, ask questions whenever you get stuck so we can get you where you need to be. Good luck.